everybody. Welcome to this FSQCA tutorial series. This is the second video in the series. If you haven't watched the first video and if you're totally new to this data analysis method, please watch the first video, it's recommended. However, if you already have a little bit knowledge of FSQCA, then we can start with this calibration. So, as you all know, FSQCA deals with data that range from the 0 to 1 scale. So all the values on all your variables has to be between 0 and 1. If it's not, which is the case for most social science research data, because we collect data from questionnaires that often use a Likert scale. That's like usually it's from 1 to 5 or 1 to 7, but nothing between 0 and 1. Therefore, we need to perform this calibration procedure before we can analyze the data in FSQCA. So here I'm going to introduce to you the direct method of calibration introduced by Charles Rajan. I believe it's his book in 2007, but I got basically all the methods I introduced to you in this video series is from this book, and I got it from this website. So the name of the book is Redesigning Social Inquiry, or Inquiry, Inquiry. Yeah, let me check how to pronounce it. Let's see. Inquiry, yeah, I was right the first time, then someone corrected me into the incorrect one. Anyways, all right, so there are two entries to this search, and you can click any of this. Let me just click this, and then you can get it. It's a PDF, I believe. You can open it. Oh yeah, it's downloadable PDF book. I believe you can open it in other softwares like Adobe Acrobat or iBook, or I don't know whether you can transform into Kindle version. But anyways, but it's in the book. So I just I took a screenshot of the relevant pages and made it as a PDF. Let's see. It's not in sequence, but you can see basically it's only 4 or 5 pages. You can totally read it. But in this video, I'm going to demonstrate to you this the direct method of calibration. It's only 4 or 5 pages. You can find the book, you read the pages. Anyways. So let's start with SPSS. As you all know, most social scientists use SPSS to analyze data, and so do I. So here I have 5 independent variables and 1 dependent variable. So these are my 5 independent variables, and this is my dependent variable. So I'm going to open a syntax file that I made following the procedures described in that book. Let's see, syntax, I think that's the one. Yeah. So in the book, it described a 4-step procedure to calibrate your data to 0 to 1 scale, and I wrote up the syntax. So this is the first step. Before you perform this calibration, you need to decide 3 values. So you need a criteria for at what point you would consider a value to be above full membership, and at what criteria you will consider this value to be in the full non-membership category, and at what point you consider as a crossover point. So you know that FSQCA deal with qualitative data, and basically you categorize each case into either in this category or not in this category. But fuzzy set QCA allows you to give a level of membership to each case. So a case can be sort of in the category but not really. So you need a measure, or you need a numeric measurement of to what extent do we say this case belongs to this category? That's where this 3 criteria come into play. For detail of this concept, please read the book, as usual. All right, so in this analysis, I decide that I'm going to use the mean. I'm going to use the mean as the crossover point, and I'm going to use the maximum value of each variable as a criteria for full membership, and I'm going to use the minimum value of each variable as a criteria for full non-membership. Having said that, I'm going to first calculate the mean, the maximum, and the minimum value of each variable that I want to convert to 0 to 1 scale, which is my 5 independent variables and 1 dependent variables. So I go to Analyze. You can do either descriptive statistics or frequency. I'm just going to do descriptive. That one should do it. So transform all your variables into this variable box. Specify that you want the mean, you want the minimum and the maximum. That's minimum in Chinese. 最小值. Okay, click yes. So you will see here that I have 100 cases and there's no missing values in any of my variable, and that's very important for FXQC analysis, especially if you want to compute any value using your FXQC software. So what I'm going to do after this step is to open an empty Excel file. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is the step 3 described in the book. Let's go to the book. So here it says that you need to calculate this ratio. You need to calculate a ratio to perform the next step. And there are 2 ratios for each value. You need to calculate a ratio for the large numbers and another ratio for the small numbers. And this book gives you the method how to do the calculation. So I'm gonna use Excel to calculate these 2 ratios. The first cell gonna be the max and mean and mean. Okay. I'm going to name the dependent variable, that's academic performance, as P. My first variable is going to be A, and then B, C, D, E. Okay, so these 4 are independent variables, and this is my dependent variable. And then I'm going to fill in the descriptive statistics, calculate from SPSS. I mean, you can use Excel to calculate the mean, max, and the minimum, obviously. Okay, so let me do, and the minimum is all 1, and except for this is 2. Okay. So for this video, I'm just going to reserve 2 numbers after the decimal points, but everybody has their preference, and there's really it just really depends on the convention in your research field. Okay. All right. So I got all the maximum, the minimum, and the mean of each variable. So what I'm going to do next is to calculate the ratio for large numbers, and the formula is this ratio equals 3 divided by the maximum value of that variable minus the mean of that variable. Okay, enter. And then you can just you move to the lower right corner of the cell, and you can drag it down to calculate all the these ratios for this column. For the ratio for small numbers, and the formula is quite the same. It's 3 divided by, but here's a little different. Instead of the maximum minus mean, it's mean minus the minimum. So it's all positive numbers, and you drag it down. And because I only reserve 2 decimal points, so I'm gonna do. Okay, good. All right. Now I got these two ratio numbers, I can start to fill in that syntax file, the SPSS syntax. So for step 1, you need to subtract your crossover point from the original value, because I decide to use the min as a crossover point, so I'm going to fill in the min there. Please notice here that in many research fields, you're not supposed to use a min as a crossover point. You're supposed to use a number in the middle on the scales. For example, if you use a Likert scale, 1 to 5, then most of the case you're supposed to use 3 as a crossover point, because that gives you that really calibrates your variables. No matter what your sample data looks like, the calibration is going to be always the same. And in like number 5 is always going to be a criteria for full membership. Even if you go to another sample, if you got a case that has like value 5 on this variable, that case is always going to be in full membership. And another sample, if it's number 5 on that value, that case is going to be, categorized as a full member in that category. Like I said, read that book and you'll understand more what I'm saying. Okay, so let's see, 3.82, and so this is a little bit effort that you need to manually type in the numbers, and you can imagine, what will happen if you have 20 variables, then you spend most of the time. That's why the syntax file is so makes things so much easier, because then I don't have to type the rest of the syntax. All right, here I fill in the 0 to highest. Some students ask me, how to get the syntax file. Well, you can just type it. You just click stop, pause this video, and you can just start type. Or actually make the syntax file by point and click, because that's really a SPSS technique. It's not a FSQC technique, so I'm not going to mention it in this video. But if you're interested, you can watch YouTube video for SPSS. Let's see what keywords you can use for searching. First, it's this one's easy. It's a compute. It's just simply, transform compute numbers. And this is recode a variable into a different variable. So that's still in transform, and this one is recode into a different variable. So point and click, and instead of run, you click save, and that gives you the syntax file that you can save and just add it later on. Okay, let me typing. There's really not much typing in this one, because I simplified it to 5 variables that I can give you this tutorial. Okay. Let's see. Okay. Alright, now I added a syntax file using my sample statistics, and the step 3 and step 4, they're all set. Now, obviously you need to save this. I'm just going to say today's date. Today's August 18th. Great. Okay. Now before you export this data into FSQCA, there's one more step you need to check. You need to make sure that in your SPSS data file, before you perform the calibration procedure, you need to check that your variable names are the same with the variable names in your syntax file. So because here I command SPSS to calculate, P into P underscore 2 and compute A into A underscore 2. So I need to make sure that the variable names in my data file is actually the same as the one in the syntax file. So that's how I'm gonna do it. And done. Okay, now save it. And select all the syntax in this file and run. See, SPS has computed this calibrated variables automatic for you. Okay, let's double click and check every variable here. I mean on the underscore 5, because that's the last set of variable names I set. So it all should, every number here should be from 0 to 1. So let me just quickly check that. So I see some 0.99 is fine. I see some 0.01, so that's good. So every number is in the range of 0 to 1. So that's good. Now, now you're ready for the calibration. Oh, sorry, you finished the calibration. You're ready for data analysis. However, so I just showed you the method, using FSQCA, but I'm going to show you the second method as well, which is you can actually use the FSQCA software to do the calibration procedure. So how you do that is, it's actually described in the FSQCA manual that's downloadable from the same website where you downloaded the software. So you open let's say this one. Oh, this is already calibrated. No, I don't want the calibrated one. I want one that's not calibrated yet. Yep, this is not calibrated. Okay, so how to calibrate in the software? You click variable, compute, and you give it a name. Oh, it's not recommended to give a single letter as a character name, but I'm going to try it. Based on the manual, it's going to crash, but let's see. Click calibrate, and there are 4 parameters that you need to fill. So the first one is the variable name in the original file. The second one is the maximum value. So I remember, well, if you don't remember, you can go back. That's 7 and 1 for the first variable. So I'm just going to click 7. The third parameter is a minimum value. Yeah, if you want to validate that, if you don't believe what I'm saying, you can go back to the FSQCA manual. Let's see. FSQCA manual. No, I don't really have that. Well, it's really a simple matter. Let's see. I should probably have one. Yeah. Okay, so just click search calibration. Okay, so here, yeah, just click say like calibrate. Okay, let's see. Let's see. Oh, yeah, here. So let's see. The first number is the value of value that corresponds to the threshold for full membership. So that's a maximum value in my research, because I decide to use the maximum value of that variable as a threshold for full membership. The second number is the value of a so the second number is a crossover point, which I decide to use the mean. But you can decide to use other numbers. The third number is the threshold for non-membership. So I use a minimum value of that variable, but you can use other numbers. So my mean for says 4.65. Okay. Let's see what happens. Hopefully it doesn't crash. Yeah, it didn't crash. Okay. So so the one that says it will crash, that was from 2013. Now it's 2018, so 5 years. They probably did something to this. They probably debugged that. Anyways, so this is the new variable I just computed, and it's a calibration of this variable. So as you can see, the smaller number on the original scale correspond to a smaller number on this new calibrated scale. So that's all for this video, and I hope you really had fun during the calibration process. I'll see you in the next video.